Hi, welcome to CopyLine Magazine's one-on-one television program. I'm Juanita Bratcher, the editor and publisher of CopyLine Magazine and the host of One-on-One Television. Today, our guest is Jerry Brown, an official with the 8th Ward Accountability Coalition. That's a community organization that for the last month or so has been the informational catalyst for 8th Ward residents in keeping them informed about the proposed medical marijuana dispensary headed to the 8th Ward that most residents were not aware of until informed by EWAC. EWAC staff and its members have done a yeoman's job in keeping the community informed about the proposed medical marijuana dispensary headed for the 8th Ward, a facility that a large majority of the middle and upper middle class community in the area adamantly opposed, and have said as much at 2 community meetings sponsored by EWAC where hundreds were in attendance. They spoke loud that they did not want it and they didn't want it in their neighborhood. They also voiced dismay with 8th Ward Alderman Michelle Harris for not holding a community meeting prior to the Chicago City Council's approval of the dispensaries, whose proposed location is at 1111 East 87th Street, a business area where the Social Security Administration was once housed. EWAC, after finding out about the proposed dispensary, immediately set out to inform the community of its finding and was instrumental in getting a deferral from the Zoning Board of Appeals after informing the board that Alderman Harris did not hold a public meeting to inform residents and get their opinion and feedback on the dispensary. 8th Ward residents' only hope now to stop the dispensary rests in the hands of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals have scheduled a meeting for August 21st, 2015 at 121 North LaSalle Street at 2 p.m. to give 8th Ward residents an opportunity to voice their opinions on the proposed dispensary. Residents are planning to turn out in numbers to make certain that their dismay and opposition with the dispensary is known, that they just don't want it. Mr. Brown, welcome to One-on-One. We're so glad to have you here today so you can tell the community and the city of Chicago what is going on with this medical marijuana dispensary that has been proposed to come to the 8th Ward.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us. Thank you for helping us get this message out. I'm tired. I'm very tired. This is like working a job. This community has given support to this alderman for one particular reason, and that is to take our voice back to the various councils and zoning boards or wherever it is, to take our voice back there. But apparently she has felt that her voice was the only one that needed to be heard. We found out about this proposed medical marijuana dispensary back in June. And I'm told that the whole approval process began almost 2 years ago. Even though the ordinance that allows dispensaries to operate in the city was only approved last July. The alderman, the company, and no one else, not even the state legislatures who approved medical marijuana in the state of Illinois, made absolutely no effort to let the community know that one of these dispensaries was being planned right here in our neck of the woods. So once we found out about it, we organized ourselves, and it wasn't that many. We organized ourselves and made it our business to make sure that the community was aware, and not so much to influence opinion, but to actually get the opinion of the community. Once we did a kind of an impromptu canvas of the area immediately around the proposed location, we saw that we went to 102 homes one Saturday. Myself and another member, Linda Hudson. And out of those 102 homes we went to, we found one person, not one household, but one person in a household where the rest of them were against it, that was actually for this. So being armed with that, we said, okay, we've got work to do. And being novices at this. Basically, we're not politicians, we're not activists. We're just concerned citizens, concerned about our community, concerned about the quality of life of our community, and so we began an operation to shut this thing down.
What has been the hardest part of trying to get this out to the community, the information, and letting them know what is going on, and something about this law? And I did bring some information about this law, the act.
Well, the hardest part has been the limited number of foot soldiers. This is a pretty big area. Illinois Grown Medicine was granted a license to operate in the Hyde Park Township. That's a tax district, and that area stretches from 39th Street on the north all the way to the city limits on the south, State Street on the west, and Lake Michigan on the east. And this dispensary is going to affect this entire area. So having sufficient foot soldiers to help us get this message out has been the most difficult task. But I will say this, that where we have gotten the message out, people have responded, and they have responded overwhelmingly in opposition to this business coming to our community.
Mm-hmm. And I have talked to a lot of people, and I haven't talked to one person who wanted it to come in. I talked to a lot of people. Okay. When I found out, I didn't know about it myself, and I consider myself one that knows what's basically going on in the community. Mm-hmm. And I saw it on Facebook, and I said, wait a minute, this is the 8th Ward, this is my ward. Yeah. And I started reading it, and then I started getting in touch with people and telling them, and they were all saying, I didn't know anything about that. Even other people that know what is going on in the community, like I think I do, they didn't know about it either. So you all did a good job in carrying the information to our ward, because now there are a lot of people that are aware of it. And believe it or not, there are still some you talk to that are not aware of it. That is coming. And that's one of the reasons why I know that you all put a flyer together, and you're going to try to get that more out into the community. And what about the business community? Have you had any interaction with them or the churches and let them know so perhaps they can post something in their churches or in their businesses, you know, like in the window or something?
We've approached a number of churches. There's a coalition of churches here on the southeast side of Chicago that are in support of what we're doing. They have made announcements during their Sunday services, have placed it in their bulletins, and that's one way that the message has gotten out. The business community, well, they have basically, the ones that we've approached have basically taken a neutral position. And I'm not sure why that is. I have suspicions, but I really don't want to voice my suspicions, because that's all they are, suspicions. Mm-hmm. But we do know that the Chatham Business Association, the local chamber of commerce, is in favor of this coming here, and we have absolutely no reason to believe that it's for reasons of betterment of the community. They've made an attempt to present Illinois Grown Medicine and Mr. Hollis's investment group as someone who has a deep concern for the betterment of this community, but we see absolutely no benefit of a business of this type coming to this area.
Now, at the meeting the other night, the community meeting that the alderman gave, there were several people that were at the meeting at the podium, and they were all really pro-dispensary. She didn't have anyone there that was anti, you know, to give the other side of the story. It was a one-sided meeting, and I wrote an article to that effect. But there were two things I remember that was said. He was saying they would have maybe about 3,000 patients in the program, and they also said that it would bring about $2 million in revenue to the community. And the people I heard at the meeting was saying, what is $2 million if you're going to come in and destroy our community? So what are your feelings on that? Do you want to talk about that?
Well, first of all, his numbers are a little skewed. Right now, there are only 2,600 people statewide that are legally qualified to purchase medical marijuana. Now, there are 60 dispensaries that have been allowed to, have been licensed, I'll put it that way, across the state. There are 800 applications for people to get permission to buy it. So if those 800 are approved, so we're looking at 3,400 people across the entire state of Illinois, a population of better than 6 million. those numbers just don't pan out. About $2 million in revenue, those numbers just don't pan out for this one location, unless people are going to be traveling from Springfield or Champaign to come here to purchase marijuana. And that's not going to happen because there are dispensaries that have been approved and up and ready to start operating in October south of Chicago and south of Cook County. So his numbers just don't pan out. And again, you're absolutely right. Even if there was $2 million worth of revenue, that doesn't fall into the hands of the community. And even if it did, it's not worth the damage that this type of business would bring to our area.
On August 1st, 2013, Governor Pat Quinn signed House Bill 1, which would create a medical marijuana pilot program for the state of Illinois. The Compassionate Use of Medical Cannabis Pilot Program Act officially took effect January 1st, 2014, and made Illinois the 20th state to have this new law, and it authorizes registered patients to obtain up to 2.5 ounces of medical marijuana every 2 weeks from a dispensary the patient specifies during the application process. Patients may apply for a waiver to use more marijuana if their physicians explain that that amount is insufficient for the patient. A 4-year pilot program with an automatic sunset if it isn't renewed by the end of 2017. The Medical Cannabis Act permits up to 22 cultivation centers regulated by the Illinois Department of Agriculture. They will be the only legally recognized growers of cannabis. It also provides for up to 60 dispensaries regulated by the Department of Professional Regulations, who will be the only legal retailers to dispense the medical marijuana. There will be 22 cultivation centers, which is one for each of the state police districts. The centers must be located at least 2,500 feet away from any schools or daycares. Now, the rules for the dispensaries define residential zoning areas to address the dispensary location concerns of some cities and counties. It will permit up to 60 dispensaries around the state. One entity can receive permits in up to 5 districts. The 2-stage application process includes a $5,000 non-refundable application fee, proof of $400,000 in liquid assets, and documentation satisfying selection and optional bonus criteria. Now, I was looking here where it was saying that the centers must be located at least 2,500 feet away from schools or daycares. Do you think that this particular proposed location confines with what they're saying there?
Well, the 2,500 foot designation is for cultivation centers. For dispensaries, it's 1,000 feet. Mm-hmm. And clearly, this location doesn't fit that. Right here in this very same complex, the University of Illinois has an extension office that holds classes and does workshops. That's a school. Mm-hmm. That's a training facility. Illinois Grown Medicine is leasing Suite 400 here at 1111 East 87. In Suite 300, which is right next door, which is less than 5 feet, its interest is less than 5 feet from Illinois Grown Medicine. Hartgrove Hospital has the Chatham Family Counseling Center. What they do at this counseling center is that they deal exclusively with children who have behavioral problems. Right next door to that, in Suite 200, Youth Advocate Incorporated deal with children who have been arrested for various issues, and after speaking with the manager of that facility, he told me that the majority of their clients are children who have been arrested for drug-related issues. Clearly, this is not, as the alderman and Mr. Hollis and the Chatham Business Association tried to tell us, that this company has our best interests at hand. This clearly doesn't have our best interests at hand. It doesn't have the clients of these facilities' best interests at hand. But as far as them meeting the criteria, no, it doesn't.
So what would you tell eighth warders or anyone that would be affected by this particular proposed locality to come down to the meeting at the Zoning Board of Appeals and what can they do to help to try and keep this particular business from coming into the community?
Okay, you're absolutely right. It's my understanding that what the Zoning Board of Appeals is looking at when they make their decision to grant the special use permit is, number one, the opinion of the community, and number two, the background of the applicants. This is what we saw, and this is what they understand. Also, the opinion of the alderman does have weight, and we hope that Alderman Harris does the right thing. I'm pretty sure that she doesn't have much choice if she's interested in staying as a representative in the council for this area. What the community can do is absolutely, they can show up at the City Hall Council chambers August 21st. We have an online petition right now that they can go online and sign. We have hard copy petitions circulating throughout the community. If they haven't been approached by someone with those, and if they don't have access to online to our online petition, they can contact myself or either one of the other members. I can be reached at area 630-542-7320, or you can email us at lhudson426@sbcglobal.net. Also, you can continue to call the Alderman's office and let your opinion be known. Alderman Harris at her meeting, I will say this, the other night at Alderman Harris's meeting, she had some ballots, I guess you would call it, for lack of a better explanation. She had ballots distributed. They look pretty much like this. They're asking for... Yeah, this is it. Yeah, it's got contact information on there, and it's also asking you to voice your opinion, either that you're for it or you're against it. She's still accepting these in her office. Okay, I would suggest if you haven't filled one of these out, get over to her office and fill one out. And for those who have filled one out, continue to call the office and let the community know, let the alderman know how you feel about this.
One last question: do you have a bus or something going down that people can?
Yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we do. We have arranged for transportation for anyone that wants to come down to the Zoning Board of Appeal. Let the Zoning Board of Appeals see exactly how adamantly opposed this community is to this. We've arranged transportation. You can contact us for information at the contact information I just gave.
Okay. Thank you very much for coming and setting the record straight on what you think and what your organization thinks and what you are doing to try to get this out to eighth warders. And I'm sure many of those who hear you will meet you down at the Zoning Board of Appeals on August 21st at 2 p.m. We're back with Miss Linda Hudson, who is a member also of the 8th Ward Accountability Coalition, and she's been doing so many things. And if you're thinking about going down on the bus, she's the person that you should talk to.
Sure. If you're interested in supporting us and going down to the Zoning Board of Appeals on August 21st, we will have buses. Right now, we don't know what location you should meet us at, but we will let you know. And you can send me an email at lhudson, HUDSON, 426@sbcglobal.net, and I will get right back in touch with you.
Well, we know you've been working pretty hard trying to get the community mobilized and let them know what is going on with this proposed medical marijuana dispensary. And what else have you been doing?
Well, we've just been, like Jerry said, one Saturday we walked this Greenwood Street. We hit about 101 or 2 homes, and we just talked to people and said, hey, do you know that this dispensary is going to be right down the street from you? And no one knew. And we were just shocked that no one knew, because Alderman Harris, she didn't hold community meetings. She didn't let any of the residents know. And she was basically having these secret meetings for about 2 years with Harborside. And so we thought we should let people know, let the residents know.
How did your organization find out about this? Because a lot of people just didn't know about it, and you all are the ones that let us know that it was going on. How did you find out?
I read an article, and the first article that I read said that marijuana dispensary was coming to the Hyde Park Township. So the average person that hears that, they think, oh, it's going to be in Hyde Park. But if you look at your tax bill, you realize that we live in the Hyde Park Township. And then after doing some more, Googling, we found out that the address would be 1111 East 87th Street. And I was like, oh my God, that's right across the street from where my son goes to roller skate.
So you approached the alderman. You called the alderman's office when you found out?
I didn't call her office. I went to her office. In fact, I went to her office on June 15th. And she told me that she was for the dispensary and that it helps, the medical marijuana helps people with cancer. And we know that. We know that there are some benefits to it. And that's really not our issue. Our issue is the location. And we told her that. And she told both me and Jerry Brown that she does not smoke marijuana. And if we don't want it, she would stand with us. And we left that meeting feeling really good, like, wow, this is a victory. And we got a phone call the next day from the alderman's office saying that there would be a zoning board meeting on that Friday, the 19th. So we went to the zoning board meeting, and the alderman had one of her precinct captains there in support of the dispensary. We were flabbergasted because we had just met with her. Yes, that's the one.
That's what they said at a meeting once.
Yes, Rodney Brown, he said, I do what I'm told. She told me to be here and in support of it, and I do what I'm told. And so we just really kind of revved up and said, well, we can see where the alderman is at, so we've got to do our own thing. We actually met Mr. Hollis at that meeting, and he said he had the support of the community. He said he had 2 letters. He had a letter from the Merrynook Association and the Calumet Heights Association.
So that's the community?
Yeah, that's what he said. And so, of course, we asked to see the letters, and he wouldn't let us see them. But that's how we've just been doing all the footwork ourselves.
Okay, the alderman said at her community meeting that she was with the community. Whatever they wanted, that's the way she would go. And she did have a form, as Mr. Brown pointed out, where people could say they were in favor or they were not in favor of it. And she said also they would add to phone calls that they received and emails. And whatever the community wanted, the majority, that's what she would do. So this is what we will bank on, that hopefully it will be more that don't want it than will want it. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Exactly, and hope that for Alderman Harris's political career that she makes the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for letting us know what is going on and letting the community know what is going on. They need to know. And hopefully in the end, we'll see what happens and hope that it comes out in the community's favor, because everybody that I've talked to don't want it. Mm-hmm.
We don't want it. We don't want it.
Yeah. And they said that 1,000 times fold at the community meeting, that they did not want it, not in our neighborhood. And it's not that. They made it clear that it wasn't that they were not compassionate to sick people. It's just that they didn't want it in the location that it was coming to. Exactly. This has been CopyLine Magazine's One-on-One, and we'll see you the next time. Take care.